Hello Flosstube and welcome to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. It's great to have you join me. Welcome back if you're not new here. It's really lovely to see you again. I am at that point, I think I might have said last time, I was almost at 400 subscribers. I am now at 398 subscribers. So really what we could just do with is 2 more people. If you're watching, if you've watched my channel before, if this is your first time and you like what you're watching, please subscribe. 400 would be really fabulous. I would be really happy with that. This time last year, I think I was about 100. So that's pretty good. That would be 300% increase in the space of a year. I know it's about a year because we are now coming up towards Stitch in London, which will be on the weekend of October the 20th. So it's just a few weeks away. And, you know, if you look back, you'll see my channel's been around for quite a lot longer than that. It started off not really quite knowing what it was about. Then it was about all my crafts. And then more recently, it's been mostly about cross stitch with some other crafts as well from time to time. And the Stitch in London video last year was the first one that really, like lots of Flosstube people actually saw it and people started to link to it and that sort of thing. But slow growth, but it's definitely been bigger growth in the last year than previously. And I'm very grateful if you're one of those people who have subscribed. Now, I do have some apologies to make. I'm really sorry about the lighting. It's really dreadful. And it also makes it very clear what sort of state my hair is in. I am growing out the pink, but also you still have to keep putting in the pink because otherwise you end up with this sort of look at the end, which is just where there's bleach and no pink. And that's really horrid. It also could probably do with a wash. Anyway, you're very lucky because I did at least remember to brush it. So there's something there. The lighting's not great. It's nighttime here and I haven't quite been able to bring myself to get all the other lights out and try and make it look better. I apologise. The other apology is I obviously can't really show you my filming setup because then I won't be able to film it. But I have a little portable table in front of me that normally sits next to me on the sofa, and it has a stand on it that I put my tablet on, or even my laptop if I'm working, or if I'm stitching I'll put a cross stitch chart on there, or my iPad with the cross stitch chart on there. And it's really good. It's metal, so you can stick a needle minder right to it, and it's got a lip around the edge so stuff doesn't just fall off. And it always has on the corner of it a clamp, which is the end of the sort of, I want to say tripod, but it's not actually a tripod, the whatever stand, let's use the word stand, that my phone attaches to film. And the clamp always stays there, but I take the stand off and put it away when I'm not filming. And when I got it out tonight, the bit at the end of the clamp stand, the bit at the end of the stand has disappeared. So it's sort of sitting in the clamp, but it's not really held to the clamp. So it's reasonably steady at this point. Apologies if it gets wobbly. It might just sort of slowly slide off to one side. I will try and keep an eye on it, and I hope it won't make you feel too, you know, seasick or give you vertigo or whatever. I apologise. Right, the other thing I have to apologise. Oh, I just seen the bit. Give me a minute. Good. I found the bit lying on the floor where it had dropped, and so hopefully now it should be a little bit steadier all the way through. I mean, who knows, but I've given it my best shot. Right, I do have some stitching to show you and to talk about. I have some plans that I've been thinking about, some news that you may or may not have seen yet. I haven't written it down. I'm very menopausal. I can't remember everything. There's one thing that I wanted to show you that I literally can't find. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what we'll talk about? But I'm going to start with my fully finished object, which is this. I love it. I really love it. So let me tell you about this. This is a squirrel, obviously, based on a medieval illustration of a squirrel. The original didn't have this bottom part, but I added the lettering in a sort of vaguely medieval-ish style, and then I wanted, you know, something autumnal around. So we've got the squirrel holding that. I just love his expression. He's a sneaky squirrel, a little mischievous kind of squirrel, stashing away his nuts. And I really like how this came out with the sort of illustrated background at the top and then the sort of more naturalistic leaves and acorns on the bottom. So this is the latest in my little medieval menagerie series. This is nuts. You may remember I have elephantine and cat snails. I was working on another biggish piece. That'll be a while before that comes out. This is obviously a much smaller piece based just on that one squirrel. A number of things to say about this. The first thing is to say, I really like the finishing idea. The actual execution is terrible. So let me tell you what I did. I had my finished piece, interfaced it, cut it to the size that I wanted, zigzag stitched using my sewing machine, but you could really just hand stitch it, or even if you were a gluer, you could glue it at this point. The stitched piece onto this backing fabric, this yellow fabric, and then I took this green velvet ribbon and stitched that to cover the seam. Now you can see the first place where that goes badly wrong is up here, where I just slightly got it in the wrong place, and so there's a sort of, yeah, anyway, it shows the fraying edge of my stitching. It's not great. And then it went really badly wrong. I don't know if I can hold this straight enough that you can see. It's actually looking better on camera than it does in real life. This is really skew-iff, this little bit here. So this side comes down too low, and then this goes up, and it is, there we go. It really doesn't look good. In the photo that I put on the pattern, I carefully laid this flat and put a whole lot of acorns and leaves over this bit, so that hopefully it doesn't look too bad. But what I then did, I liked that idea, and then what I did, I didn't want to do a whole big flat fold. So I used, for mounting it, I'm going to show you the side here, a piece of mat board that would be long enough to come all the way down here and then give me an extra little triangle at the bottom. So it's the width of the finished piece, but it's longer than the finished piece by these extra bits. And then I scored the mat board so it was easier to fold here, here, and here. And you don't have to be precise about these measurements. You just need to make sure that it makes a triangle so that the front of your piece, so that when the bottom piece is horizontal on a table or a shelf or whatever, the front of your piece will be leaning slightly back, and this will hold it up. And then all I did, as you can see, I glued the backing fabric first of all to the mat, and I glued it around these edges here and all the way down. So this is before I'd glued anything together, and down over the bottom and into the edges here. After I had glued the fabric down, I did put this piece of backing paper. So this is scrapbook paper. It's quite a good thick weight of scrapbook cardstock, but you know, use whatever you've got. So I glued that piece flat down to the base there. So that's all one piece of cardstock there. Then I glued the triangle of mat board down, and then I put another piece of the scrapbook paper going over that fold. If I were to do this again, I would wait and not put the scrapbook paper on at all until I had done the fold, and then I would just put one piece down there. Because this is quite a busy pattern, it's fine. But if you had some paper where you could get a really noticeable line there, obviously you could just use plain colour, and then that would be easier. But I don't think it really matters that not all of this triangle in fact has got paper on it, because most of it doesn't anyway. So I think it would be fine to lose that bit. and then you have a smooth line all the way down here. And then also what I did was make sure it went over onto the bottom, and that covers the raw edge of this backing fabric. If you would be interested in a video tutorial of how to make this kind of finish, let me know and I will have a think about when I stitch another piece that I will finish this way, and then I might video that for you. Now, where do you purchase this? Not in my Etsy shop. That is the headline. Not in my Etsy shop. So where on earth can I get hold of this, Roz? How can I stitch this cute sneaky squirrel with the nuts? Well, I will tell you. He is available as part of a zine. I'm in a zine. I know, it's quite exciting. It is called the Stitchy Goodness Zine. It is only available digitally. I will put the link below for the website where you can purchase it. There are 12 patterns in the zine. And this edition, the theme is called Forest Friends. So they are all animal patterns, some of which, I mean, people from different parts of the world, but there are different things in their forests. That's all I will say to that. I would not normally, for example, expect to see a lot of frogs in forests, but there is a frog pattern. There's a very cute hedgehog pattern. There's an owl. There are mice. There are... My mind has gone blank. Anyway, all sorts of patterns, lots of different styles. Some are quite big. Some, like mine, are definitely a sort of smaller size. And it is some amount of money that I now can't remember, but it's pretty good value. I think each pattern is like no more, it would work out as no more than like $2, $2.50, something like that. And all of the patterns are exclusive to that zine for at least the next few months. I should have looked up all this information, shouldn't I? Give me a minute. I'm going to look it up so I can tell you exactly. Yeah, I told you I was disorganized and forgetful. Right, Stitchy Goodness. So one thing that you can do, if you are on Instagram, you can follow Stitchy Goodness Zine and also follow me. Also, if you were to follow the Stitchers Collective, you would see the posts about this and that would have all the links. Right, I'll put the link below because the website is, not one you would automatically go to. Right, it is £26 in pounds. I don't know what it is in dollars. Maybe it magically appears in the currency of your location. It is £26. It is available from September 17th to November 17th. So you've got, 2 months, slightly less than 2 months now because it came out a week ago. It includes... what have we got? From adorable animals to intricate foliage, Forest Friends brings together a diverse array of designs that celebrate the magic of the great outdoors. Explore the intricate patterns that showcase the intricate details of charming creatures like foxes, owls, deer, and more. So, yes, there's a purple emperor. I don't know if that's a butterfly or a moth. It's very beautiful anyway. Yeah, foxes. Oh, here we go. It's showing me all the pictures, but I can't quite remember what they all are. Rabbits, more owls, spiders. Yeah. Anyway, all sorts of taste and eyes. If you go to the website, the link I will put below, you will get a preview of all of the patterns that are in there, and you can purchase it there. It's really beautifully done. You don't get separate PDFs. You get one PDF to download, which is the zine, and it's the person who put it together has really, I think, done a beautiful job with the graphics and the layout and the style, and it's it's really nicely put together. So that's nuts. Available in the Stitchy Goodness zine until November the 17th. Check out the link below. Have fun. I really enjoyed stitching him. He has 5 colours that sort of range from yellow through orange to brown and 2 greens, and you could definitely substitute whatever. I think this is stitched in DMC. I'm pretty sure it was, and that's what's listed, but you could definitely substitute greens and oranges and browns of your own choosing. Right, what else? I have another pattern available. This one is a freebie, and this is the 4th in my seasonal jack series. I've not yet fully finished that. This is autumn. So it's autumn, it's got the pumpkins, it's got acorns, the apples and the pears, and then various kinds of leaves, and then a sort of wood bark grain on the wide bands. So I really enjoyed stitching it. It's funny because although this is the last one in that series to come out, I think it is the first one that I designed. It's not the very first Union Jack pattern I designed. That was a little freebie for Stitch in London this time last year. But when I designed that, I just was like, and I've always thought this, I think the Union Jack is a really underutilized pattern. I don't think it always has to look sort of patriotic and nationalistic. I just think it's a really great pattern shape, you know, with the upright cross and then the diagonal cross. And I mean, I've put in the white bands on my designs, but I've not made them proportionately big and small and so on. And then the 3 colours, it's a really distinctive, strong shape. There's a very beautiful quilt that someone had made out of Liberty Tana lawn, just making Union Jack shapes out of all of it. And I just think it was stunning. And in fact, I'd like to say I'm in the middle of, I'm really not. I'm really near the beginning, and I haven't made much progress on it lately, making a quilt from a Union Jack shape. It's called, I think it's the Regent Street pattern. I'll see if I can find a link to that and link it below. It's quite a complicated shape to quilt or to piece. The angles are not straightforward. And the pattern that I'm using has definitely got the sort of wider and narrower bands and that kind of thing. I have to really concentrate. I have to do one whole block at a time and really concentrate. I've done all the cutting out and I've done 4 or 5 blocks, but it's not a beginner pattern. And I'm not a great quilter, and I'm not great at precision, and it really needs a lot more precision than I can give it. Anyway, when you're doing the cross stitching, you don't have to worry about that so much, and I've done the calculating and counting for you. As all of these patterns, it takes 2 colours. I've suggested DMC colours, although I stitched these into this one in 2 classic colour works. I think it was chili pepper and blue corn. It's listed in the pattern anyway. And like I said, I've suggested some DMC colours that you might use. You're also very welcome if you want to stitch in some of the white. You might stitch in the sort of unstitched part of the wider red bands. You might stitch in the white borders on the diagonals. I wouldn't stitch the whole thing. I don't think you need to make it full coverage. But you can sort of see how well things are standing out from the unstitched part of the design and decide if you want to make that more, make that stand out more. So there's autumn, and as always with the seasonal jack patterns, it is available to download for free from the link in my Instagram bio. If you didn't pick up the summer jack pattern, that is no longer available. And autumn, winter, spring and summer will all be available to purchase from my Etsy shop sometime in the new year. This one will be available to download until December 21st. I've really enjoyed doing this seasonal series. It's been really fun to see a few people stitching along with it and, you know, eagerly anticipating the next season when it comes up. So I am thinking about doing one for next year. So I have 2 things here. First is all of these seasonal jacks are supposed to come with a video finishing tutorial. And that's really why this isn't finished, because I haven't had time to film a tutorial. There are 2 options. I could actually do it and film it in the style that I did for nuts and just do a tutorial and show you how I did that. That is one possibility. I also have another really bonkers finishing idea that has absolutely no practical value at all. I just really want to do it. So we'll see. If I can think of something else that I'll do the nuts finish on, then I'll do that and then stick with my bonkers idea. But if not, I might just do that. I think that will be easier and certainly more useful probably to people. But I'm not sure when I will get to that. I'm going away this weekend and the following weekend, and then the weekend after that, Stitch in London. I don't know when I will have a finishing tutorial up for this. So I just want to say, if you are someone who's stitching this seasonal Jack series and you're thinking, oh, well, I'd really like to have it finished so I can get it up, you know, during autumn, don't wait for my finishing tutorial. It's going to be bonkers probably anyway, so you won't want to do it, you know, so you can already finish it some other way, finish it as a pillow or a box topper or a little flag. Do you remember I did flag for winter? I really liked that, and I sort of hope some people have taken that idea and started making little flags, or however you would choose to finish a small of this size. Just go ahead and do it. Don't wait around, because it could be a while. There will be a finishing tutorial, but it could be, I think we're looking at least a month really before I'm likely to get to it. I'm sorry about that. I had hoped I'd be able to do it last weekend, but I just didn't have a moment. But anyway, there's autumn. I think it's really fun. I think I like autumn. Well, I like all of them, but I think autumn is certainly one of my favourite top 4 of the 4. So yeah, I will put again the link below, but that is just free download from the link in my Instagram bio. So those are my 2 things that I have finished since I was last talking to you. What have I been working on? Well, one of the things I've been working on is a thing I can't find. I really do need to find it, because I don't really want to stitch again. I've not stitched loads, but I've stitched like maybe a third of the piece that I was doing. I was just going to show you the fabric that I'm using for that, because I've got loads of it. It's this. It's sort of blowing out. It's a really beautiful sort of buttery, golden, lovely, warm, rich yellow. And it is, there we go, 56 count. I know, right? 56 count. This is one that I bought from Megan Coffee Craft Fabrics in one of her Sunday sales a few months ago. It's a full fat quarter. I don't know why anyone thinks they might need a fat quarter of 56 count. I mean, you can get a lot on this, because when you stitch on 56 count, everything is tiny. Everything is tiny. So anyway, you can see I've cut a bit off, and that is my stitching. But I don't know what I've done with it. I need to go through and have a proper look, because I really don't want to lose it. And I also don't want to lose, I'm stitching on it with some of the Soie Fine that I bought, that I think I showed you last time. And I really don't want to lose that, because, you know, that's not straightforward to get hold of. So it must be somewhere. It must be somewhere. What I'm stitching on here is some of the motifs from the little DMC book that I showed you. I can't remember if it's in the last video, the one before, but I've got a little book this sort of size that a friend was destashing, and she was like, Roz, would you like it? I'm like, absolutely. Produced by DMC. I don't know how old it is, but my guess would be 100 years, something of that sort. And it's got a whole lot of cross-stitch alphabets and borders and motifs. And it's also got quite a lot of white work in there as well. But I have just sort of put together, like almost like a little spot sampler, some of the motifs and some of the borders and that sort of thing, just to make a little mini treasury sampler from that. And when I find it, I might show you. There we go. So there's that. Least interesting stitching to report ever, because I can't show you because I can't find it. But this week, Monday and Tuesday of this week, I was away on a conference, and I cannot stitch on 56 count at a conference. The lighting's not good enough, but also you've really got to look. So I thought I just need another project that I can take with me. And I'm going away this weekend as well. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I am going away this weekend as well. And I just thought I can't really, I might take the 56 count project with me, but it won't be, you know, I can't stitch on that on the plane, and I probably can't stitch on the hotel room. So I needed something else to stitch as well. So this is entirely different. This is, I think this is Picture This Plus, and it might be vellum, and it's 18 count Ada. Yeah, I was going to say it might be 20, but I'm pretty sure it's 18. And what I am stitching on here, and you can see I've not got a large piece of it, but I think it's enough for what I want. I'm stitching effectively a ribbon. Now, you remember the ribbon designs I did in the summer, the rose ribbon and the butterfly ribbon. This is obviously a different style to those. This is monochrome and it's much narrower. So even on this 18 count, it's only, I think it's 16 stitches from top to bottom. So on this 18 count, it's just under an inch. So it really is not going to be a wide ribbon. And what I wanted to try doing was putting together a whole lot of little small sampler-ish motifs. So you can see I've got the hearts, this sort of interlocking heart pattern there, and then the houses, and then these are going to be this upside down. These are going to be little birds, and sort of all the patterns have a diagonal change from one to the other. So it feels like they sort of ease in a bit more. And what I thought I might do with this is put it on a spool. So I've got some quite small vintage spools, and I just thought that would be a really nice thing to wrap around. I'm trying to work out what the best thing is to do in terms of backing it. So I have been trying to be a bit neater than normal, although I notice I've got a bit there that really doesn't look neat at all. But anyway, I've been trying to be neat on the back, because one possibility obviously is not to put any backing on at all. Yeah, I don't know what's gone on there. Anyway, if we ignore that bit, this bit's relatively neat. But I think, what I think I'd really like to do is find some kind of vintage lace, which might be a sort of crochet lace, or it might be broderie anglaise or something like that. And either it'll be vintage enough to go with this fabric, or I might, you know, tea dye it or whatever. And sort of have that as the backing, because the spool I've got, there would be room for there to be a bit of an extra border above and below, like that, sort of. So I think that would be quite nice if that was a sort of lacy trim top and bottom, and then put that on the spool. But this is really fun. It's easy to see, because it's easy to stitch because it's monochromatic. I can check the pattern every so often, but actually, because there's repeats within it, I'm not having to check the pattern all the time. And I'm just going to do the length of this. I've got 2 spools, so I'm actually going to try and do 2 ribbons, which might have some of the same patterns, but also different going across there. So that's quite a pleasing, satisfying sort of stitch. So I think that's all the stitching I've got to show you. I was going to talk about plans, and I will do that in a minute. But before I forget, the other thing I wanted to mention, you probably have already seen, because, you know, they're much bigger names than me, but if you didn't, Michelle from Mama Loves CGB and Marie from Stitches in Diamonds have just announced on their Flosstubes, well, today as I'm filming, I'm going to guess yesterday, maybe by the time this goes live, a new stitch retreat. So it is going to be a Stitch in London event. So Marie organises Stitch in London. She organised the first one last year, the next one that's coming up next month. This is going to be another Stitch in London event in February 2024, but it is going to be specifically sampler themed. And so she and Michelle are running it together, and it's going to comprise sort of elements of the Stitch in London and elements that you might find at some of the other more specifically sampler focused retreats. So there's going to be some information about antique samplers. It sounds kind of amazing. I love this idea that there's a very limited number of people who can go in, limited number of places. So if you think about it, sign up, because each table is going to have an antique sampler that they can look at and decipher and try and work out what's going on. And there's going to be sessions on how to use ancestry.com or .co.uk to try and find the person who stitched it and something about them. And there's opportunity to try your hand at charting antique samplers, and I can't remember, all sorts of stuff. So anyway, it's not for me. I won't be signing up for it. But if you are somebody who loves that world of antique and reproduction samplers, you should definitely take a look at that. The information, I think, is on Marie's website. I will definitely include the link below. And like I say, places are strictly limited. So if you're interested, don't hesitate. just book. It's not a sort of waiting list thing or a whatever. It's just a here are the places. If you've purchased one, you've got one. You have to pay up front. That's the deal. So that's the thing I wanted to remember to say. If you are coming to Stitch in London in October, hooray, hooray. I can't quite believe it's a whole year. Well, it's not quite a whole year, but you know what I mean, nearly coming around to it. If you are coming and you're watching this, do you come and say hello? That would be really fun. I'm super excited. I've got some really fun little table gifts that I'm hoping, I've got one more thing that I was waiting for that I ordered on eBay and then only realised after I'd ordered it was coming from China. And I just had a card through the post this morning saying there's a parcel waiting for you to collect that hasn't had the full amount of postage paid. So it might be that. I'm hoping it might be that. I mean, it's not the end of the world if this thing doesn't arrive, because it already is pretty cute. So, you know, I'm just saying, if you want to sit on my table, you will get the best table gift that is available. But I have also got some other little goodies that I might give out if you come and say hello, things that I might like to put on the freebie table and the swap table. There are also all kinds of really exciting other things. So early in this year, like January, Marie organised a little Zoom call for a number of UK-based designers, including me. And so we have some surprises coming, which I don't think I can tell you anything about really until Marie gives the go-ahead. But there are surprises coming at the retreat, and I think some at least before the retreat, possibly. I'm not sure quite where we're up to on all of that. But I just want to say, by the time it's Stitch in London, there will be 2 patterns that I have been working on this year that will be made public and available in one form or another. So I'm pretty excited about that. I am bringing Charlie, probably not into the stitching room. So I'm not staying at the hotel where Stitch in London is happening. I'm staying, I think it's about 10-15 minute walk away in a self-catering cottage that is dog friendly. So I think my plan is, because he's pretty good at being left, is that he will stay there and I will sort of be popping back every couple of hours to take him for a walk and make sure he's all right and that sort of thing. But if anyone would like to join me at any point in meeting Charlie and walking Charlie, he will be available for admiration and adoration by his fans and minions. So I'm just saying, which might be, I might end up being a bit more in and out at the retreat than most people, but I don't think it will be too much of a problem. He's very good at he's very good at being on his own. So I'm not worrying about him being in a self-catering cottage on his own. He really will be fine. And he doesn't need huge amounts of exercise and he will get plenty. And he has a bladder of steel. I mean, I am in absolute awe. When I first got him, I used to really make an effort to make sure he had a wee last thing at night. And he was so reluctant to do it. And in the end, I was just like, well, we'll just see. Because he was never getting up early in the morning to get out. So I was like, we'll just see. And if the worst comes to worst, he'll wake me up and I'll let him out early in the morning and we'll go back to doing it. Anyway, he didn't. And I am not the world's earliest riser at all. And so let me tell you, I know he can go from like 6 o'clock in the evening till 10 o'clock in the morning without a whimper. And he won't even look particularly desperate to go when I do let him out. So, I mean, I do let him out and he does get to go for plenty of wees and he does have plenty of water to drink. I am not depriving my dog, but he is very, very well house trained is all I have to say about that. He's never even pooed in my garden except once when he was ill. And that's the only time he's ever shown any urgency to be let out of the house was when he was ill. Otherwise, he will always wait till we're out on a walk and he can poo in a clump of nettles or something is his favourite place to poo. And he will wee when he's let out and he will try and wee everywhere and I'll be like, there really isn't any left, Charlie, but you know, so he does, but he's very well house trained. So anyway, that was quite a long tangent. He is coming with me. That would be nice. I mean, you know, I might see if I can sneak him into the sewing room. I'm not sure. He's very good. I mean, he comes to my art class with me and he just lies on the floor under the table and is fine with it. But yeah, I think the hotel might have other ideas and it's probably not fair to Marie. Anyway, all of that is Stitch in London. Let me tell you what I'm doing this weekend, because I keep talking about it and not really explaining. I'm going with a couple of people from my art group to Amsterdam for the weekend. Long weekend. I say weekend, Saturday to Wednesday. It's not really the weekend. Anyway, we planned this in... My life really now is in two parts. There's BC and AD, that is to say before Charlie and after Dog. This was planned before Charlie. But anyway, he stays with my mum when I go away, and she treats him in the manner he would like to become accustomed and is very happy with her. So that's fine. He will have a few days with her. And we are going... we planned this quite a long time ago, and helpfully we're going on Saturday and coming back on Wednesday. I fly from Birmingham International, which I had thought blithely would be really easy because I can just get a direct train there. It takes about 40 minutes. Job's a good one. Yeah, no, because train strikes on Saturday and Wednesday. Good, helpful, thank you, National Rail. So anyway, I have got a plan and I think it will work out. Because I mean, I could just drive all the way there, but then you pay a lot for parking. I didn't really want to do that. And I also, it's quite a long way for a taxi. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. The friends that I'm going with, they both live much closer to each other and sort of half an hour away from me in a different direction. So they'd already planned to get a taxi together. But yeah, for me to get a taxi from here on my own would be quite expensive. But anyway, I have a plan. I think we can get there, so that'll be good. And then we've booked to go and see various art galleries. We have made ourselves book the earliest slots available, 3 different art galleries, so that we have to get up in the morning, which I think is very wise. And also, hopefully, the galleries will be a little bit emptier if we go at sort of 9 o'clock in the morning compared to later in the day. And so then we'll feel like we've done something. We'll have, you know, spent a couple of hours or longer, whatever we want, going around the art gallery. And then we have lots of plans for eating lovely food, going to the market. There's a fabric shop. There's an art shop. I kind of want to go on a canal tour, but the other's not so keen. So I may or may not, might slightly depend on the weather. There will be a lot of sitting in cafes and sketching, and it's going to be so fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Where we're staying is right on the museum square, so it'd just be easy to go wherever we want and do whatever we feel like. And, you know, we might spend some of the time doing all the same thing, and then there might be moments where, you know, 1 or 2 of us want to go off in different directions, and we're all grown-ups and we can do that. So that would be really fun. If anyone knows of stitching shops in Amsterdam, please hit me up in the comments. I have Googled and not really found anything. And I have to say, my experience is whenever people are traveling and saying, oh, I'm looking for a stitching shop, they're never in the city. They're never in the city. And I'm not sure I really am going to have time or desire to travel out to somewhere. But if there's somewhere that's in the city, you know, and it's a bus ride away or a short train ride within the city, I'd be happy to try that. Or if there's something that you know about that's within walking distance, or, you know, Stitch or Stitch adjacent. I mean, we probably will go to Hema at some point because I just love that kind of shop. And there might be things there that can be used in stitchy kind of ways. I don't know, really. I have no real expectations, and it's quite fun. One of the other 2 have both been to Amsterdam before and I haven't, so I'm just letting them work out where's good and what they want to do, and I'll just trail along with that. Right, what else was I going to talk about? I don't have any thinky thoughts these days. I barely have any thoughts. When I get back from Amsterdam next week, so I get back on the Wednesday, on the Friday, I have a GP appointment to go and say, please give me all the HRT, please now, thank you very much, please. I have no filter at the moment, and I've been quite rude to some people recently. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's rubbish. I go from not being able to sleep at all to just needing to sleep all the time. So that also will be a factor in how much I actually get done in Amsterdam. Plans. Okay, yeah, no, this is the thing. And I would be interested to know what you think about this. I have had an idea for a potential freebie series for next year. It wouldn't be quite as seasonal as the seasonal Jags. A little bit, but not really. But it would be, what would it be? I don't want to give it all away. Slightly more sampler-ish, but in a quite a contemporary sort of way. And what I've got in my mind is 4 designs that are a little bit interchangeable. So they would all, like the sampler, like the seasonal jacks, they would all be the same size. So they're circular. So my idea is that they would all fit within the same size hoop. So you could definitely display all 4 together on a hoop wall, and that could look quite fun, I think. But also there's a border and an inside part, and the idea is that those would be interchangeable. And that slightly is what gives me pause, because if I were to release them, I would release, one border with one inside part at a time. But actually, because they're interchangeable, part of the fun of stitching it might be to say, oh, I want to do a different border with that one. So I don't know. Do you like the freebies, the seasonal freebies? I think they've had a fair number of downloads. I can't remember exactly the figures. I think I can go and check on Google Drive and it will tell me how many. Well, I think it tells me how many people have viewed them. I don't know, obviously, how many people have actually downloaded and stitched them. So I could do that, or I could just release them. And I think, again, if I release them, I would release them as one whole pack rather than as 4 separate small patterns, because of the interchangeability. So yeah, I have to think about it. But let me know in the comments if you have any particular thoughts or preferences one way or the other. I do need to stitch them if I'm going to release them, which probably means they wouldn't, I could stitch one at a time, like I've done with the seasonal jacks. But if I stitch all 4, that wouldn't be in January. So anyway, I need to think about it, but tell me what you think. One of the reasons I know it won't be in January is because October, November, December, stitching plans. December, holiday countdown. Evertoe, Roxy Flosstube on Folk Embroidery. Holiday countdown plus Gecko Rouge. That's it. That's all I'm stitching in December. Possibly between Christmas and New Year, I will stitch something else, but I don't even want to think about what that will be at this point. And whatever it is, it will be something fun. It won't be model stitching. October and November, I've got the spool ribbons that I'm working on that I think will be done in the next week, and the 56 count piece. I don't know when that will be done. It will slightly depend on how long it takes me to find. But I haven't got anything else lined up. I haven't got any models. I haven't got any gifts. I haven't, all of that is all taken care of. So I just want to stop and think about what I do with that. I've slightly abandoned my Stitch Your Stash 2023, and I'd quite like to do that. Catch up on some of the things that I've got hiding in my stash that I'd like to get on with. I'd also really like, I talked about this earlier in the year, I think, to stitch some of my stitching themed patterns, because I haven't really done it. I mean, my display wall is not absolutely seasonal, but at the moment I'm just looking. I've got Here Comes the Sun, I've got sort of spring flowers, butterflies, fresh as a bloomin' daisy, bird with flowers, bright berry patch, Mothers of Invention, really not seasonal. And then down here, these are much less seasonal, although I've got the flamingo hexagons and the butterfly sunset that was my smalls extension stitched in London last year. it's not autumnal and it's not wintry, and I don't have a whole lot of things to put up there. So it's sort of looking at the things that I change in and out. I've got two wintry things. I've got the robin that Noreen stitched for me as a smalls exchange for Christmas last year, and I've got the penguin snow globe that I stitched as part of the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Club when I was in that. But otherwise, and I guess I've got Autumn Jack and Nuts now that I could put up. So I don't know. I don't really want to make an autumnal display. I don't do Halloween. I definitely don't want a winter themed display. I can't think of anything more depressing than stitching a whole lot of winter themed projects. So I thought, well, actually, I would quite like to have a sewing themed display, and maybe autumn winter is the time to do that. And, you know, lots of those are kind of red and bright, and I could do them in other colours as well. You know, lots of them, it doesn't matter what colour you do them in. So I think October, November, that would fit with Stitch Your Stash, because a lot of those patterns I have in Stash that I want to stitch are sewing themed. And I think they would make some quite nice things to go on the gallery wall and then the little shelf displays that I have. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Oh, and that would work out as well, because actually the other things I have got are, which I should mention, because, you know, if you're starting thinking about Christmas stitching, go and check out my patterns. The scissor star, the button baubles, and the real tree. So those are sort of stitching themed and Christmas themed, or, you know, winter themed if you want them to be. So I think that sounds like a plan to me. So that's what I'm going to be stitching on. Right. I don't know what else I've forgotten. Probably a ton of stuff. Sorry. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please pop me over that 400 subscriber threshold. I would love to get to 500 by the end of the year. I think that's a bit optimistic, but you never know. I would love to get to 500 before the end of the year. That feels like quite a milestone. And I am planning a 500 subscriber giveaway. I'm sort of collecting a series of things that I think would work for that. Oh, I've just thought, I think I know where that missing piece of stitching is. Give me a minute. It wasn't there. Okay, right. In that case, I think this really is it. Thank you for watching, and do let me know what you think about the freebie series, seasonal series. Do you like having something like that's released in parts, or would you think, no, just get over and release it all in one go, Roz, even though that means that it probably won't come out as a freebie series? Tell me what else I've forgotten. All right. See, oh, I mean, honestly, this is my whole life at the moment. You must go and watch Kensington Cross Stitch, Deborah, her most recent video. So she's got some great stitching and all that, and her videos are always lovely, but she also is doing a Q&A. And I had left several comments in the questions in her comment thing on the previous video for this. But as she's talking, there's one point where I'm just like, this is just like a little bit creepy now. So there's lots of things that we have in common, similar things that we like to read, and all sorts of stuff. But one of the questions was, I think, now I can't remember exactly whether the question was your favourite author or your favourite play or something like that. But anyway, she talks about Henry IV Part 1. And she's describing when she was studying in the UK, in Oxford, also studied in the UK in Oxford, slightly less surprisingly, because I'm from the UK, but nonetheless, going to see a performance of Henry IV Part 1 at the National Theatre. And as she's saying it, I'm filling in the lines, starring Matthew McFadden. And she's like, starring Matthew McFadden. I'm like, I went to see that. Like, we might have even been at the theatre on the same day. It was not a long run at all. And it was brilliant. I remember when I went, I just went on my own. You could get £10 tickets at the time, and I was a student in North London, and so, you know, it was easy to get in and pay £10 and go and see something amazing at the theatre. And I happened to be sitting next to an older chap who, during the interval, told me that he thought Matthew McFadden was very good, and that he had first seen the play with Laurence Olivier as Prince Hal, and he thought Matthew McFadden was better. I'm like, I okay, if you say so. It was a really terrific production, and I really enjoyed it. And I had a ticket to go and see part 2, which Deborah did manage to go and see part 2. I did not, because on the day that it was being shown, I'd got on the... So from where I lived, there were various ways you could get into central London, but I had got on the tube and was then planning to change at Finsbury Park onto the train, and that was going to take me where I needed to go. And then I got on the train, and then there was a thing announced saying, can you all get off the train and get on the other train on the other platform? And then, actually, can you get off that? Actually, can you all exit the station? At this point, people are checking their phones. What's going on? Because a week earlier, people had decided to bomb London. And on the day that I was supposed to be going to the theatre, there were what turned out to be a number of fake bomb attempts. So no bombs actually went off that day, but there were fake bomb attempts. And obviously a week earlier, there had been real bombs. And so nobody was messing around. And so I never managed to get into central London. And at that point, there was no possibility of getting another ticket for later in the season. So I never saw part 2. I mean, it was a weird day. I remember, so I was at Finsbury Park, which... I don't know how far that was from where I lived in terms of actual miles, but it didn't feel like I wanted to walk. There was a bus which went to, I don't know, within a mile or half a mile of where I lived. I was like, okay, well, if I get the bus, and then I'm pretty sure I can walk back from there. But getting on that bus was quite scary, because there are a lot of people getting on that bus, and quite a lot of them had backpacks, and you're all looking around at each other going, I wonder if anyone on this bus has got a bomb. Anyway, they didn't. But it was quite a weird day. Yeah, it was a weird time to be in London, certainly. You know, it's funny, I grew up, I don't really remember the 1970s, but certainly in the 1980s and early 1990s, where bombs were a relatively common feature in UK news and UK life, and travelling on the train, and there were never any bins, for example, in the station, because you could, you know, drop a bomb in a bin and then it would explode later. And, you know, evacuating Birmingham New Street, I remember doing, and this sort of thing. And you just knew that you just had to get on with your life. And if you were someone who might be particularly a target, you would do things like check under your car and check packages when they came through the post and that sort of thing. But most people, you just got on with your life. And you knew there was always a risk, but there's nothing you could do about it, and you can't just live your whole life staying at home. But then we'd all sort of forgotten that. Well, I had anyway. You sort of thought, oh, okay, that's not really where we're at now. And then those bombs, what year was that? 2004, 5, something like that, maybe. Yeah, it was another really shocking moment that made people think differently again. Anyway, that wasn't really how I meant to be going with that story. But anyway, do go and watch Deborah's video, because she's great. And there's just lots of really fun facts, and read all the books that she recommends, and all of that. And tell her I sent you. There we go. Right, I am going to stop now, because I can't remember anything. I can't think of anything else to say. I don't know when I'll film again. You'll know when you know. You'll know when it's there. That's why you should subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that palaver.